Hi, I'm Sarah Glassmeyer, and I'm the Director for Data Curation at Legal Tech Hub. Today, I am joined by Sam Beitler, who is the Chief Product Officer at SimplyAgree, and we are going to learn all about the history of SimplyAgree and see a brief demo. Hi, Sam, welcome.
Hey, Sarah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
To get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history and background of yourself and SimplyAgree? How did it all get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So SimplyAgree was founded around 2017 by myself and our founder and CEO, Will Norton. We were both practicing attorneys in Nashville, Tennessee, and we worked in different practice groups. Will was at a different firm than I was, practicing in the venture capital and emerging company space. I had a middle market private equity practice, and we started kind of swapping notes on some of the pain points we had in our practices. And we quickly realized there was a lot of overlap of some of the pain points we had around the closing mechanics of the deal. Even though we were in different practice groups, we noticed, hey, some of these processes around signing and closing and document compilation are really tricky and taking a lot of time, and our clients don't want to pay for it. And neither of us went to law school to be doing PDF surgery on documents. And so we kind of came out of that conversation saying there's got to be a better way. And we explored some other transactional areas, commercial real estate, commercial finance, and we realized those are really, really common pain points that the industry is experiencing. And so as two attorneys who were frustrated with the process, we decided, hey, let's go out and figure out how we can fix this and use technology to solve these problems.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, this is one of those things when I'm like, on an airplane or in a dental chair or something, and someone says, what do you do? And I say legal tech. And I'm like, just an example, there's this like company called SimplyAgree, and they, it's one of those things you don't think about, but like making sure big transactional documents are signed right is actually really hard to do. And it takes a lot of time. And it's a perfect use of technology that's kind of whether speed the process up and make it easier for all involved. So I guess, yeah, like how is it used every day? Like who is using it? How are they using it? What is the actual use of SimplyAgree? Like how's it used?
Yeah, so we really handle a few pain points that are really specifically around the closing of the transaction. So we talk generally about closing mechanics, but there's three things that fall into those buckets: signature packets, document compilation, and closing binders and closing sets. And so what we help our users do is navigate that closing process with as little time and effort as possible, but ensuring that all of that work gets done right. What's interesting about this space in particular is it's not particularly sexy. It's not something that, is going to win the day for any particular lawyer or deal team, but it has to be done right on every transaction, right? Documents have to be signed correctly. Signature pages have to be collected, and documents have to be compiled in the proper version, the proper record of the deal. And if you get it wrong, it looks really bad for both the law firm and to the client to have that information correct. And so we're really focused on those mechanics, making sure they get done correctly, but also more efficiently. So we think about kind of that first bucket, signature packets. What does that mean? We help users extract their signature pages from 50, 100 different documents and 50, 100 different signers on a deal, pull those out of the documents, compile them into signature packets by signer, and send them out either for e-signing or handwritten signature collection, just depending on the type of the transaction. When those documents are signed, they automatically get recompiled. We update versions, we can add attachments like exhibits, schedules, annexes, and make sure the final compiled versions of those documents are ready at the time of close. And then really quickly from there, spin out a closing book, a closing binder as the final memorandum of the transaction that our attorneys can deliver to their clients on the day of closing. So again, really focused on the signing and closing. About 2 weeks before closing, we jump into that process, help them navigate, and hopefully make it about 80% more efficient to do that over the closing period.
Yeah, I think it's exciting doing something right and doing it quickly. I don't know, like that's pretty sexy to me, but that kind of leads me to the next question. Because again, like, you know, we like to nerd out here at the Legal Tech Hub, and we like to talk a little bit. If you could give us a high level, understanding of what's going on under the hood. How does this all happen?
Yeah, so one of the realizations that Will and I had really early on when we were creating the software was The tools and the technology to facilitate this process already existed, right? There are already platforms and APIs and libraries that could make it possible to do the kinds of document manipulation that we needed to do in a tool like SimplyAgree. What we did, where our magic was, how do we apply the really niche and nuanced business logic that transactional attorneys have to that set of tools? And so that's what we did, is built on top of those kind of core platforms. We have a lot of document conversion and document extraction and document compilation tools that we use, PDF compilation tools that happen under the hood and in the background. But we really focused on what is the precise order and mechanism that users need to unlock those tools, and how can we deliver that to them in a nice, clean UI? And so that's really kind of the magic of SimplyAgree, is building on top of those existing tools and helping users have a really nice kind of graceful experience through that closing process. I would love to say that we are a AI native tool and, we are built on Gen AI, but that's just not who we are as a company to date. We've been able to solve these problems really well and get that accuracy and the confidence of making sure that information is right at closing with some really robust business logic for the user. That being said, like any company today, we're exploring Gen AI and how to make our tool and our teams better and more efficient. And we'll continue to invest in those tools for our users. But where we are as a company today is really providing value that is just matching those user workflows and making them feel really comfortable and at home in a tool like ours.
It's one of those things, like, they're great, like Gen AI, amazing technology, not always need it. But like, maybe someday, like, that's a neat thing that you're not like completely saying, no, we're not using it. We'll see, maybe we can find a good fit for it. Yeah.
And it's certainly exciting for us to explore and play with, and we see so many opportunities in it. And we're going to be really intentional about where we incorporate it in the application. If we're not solving a user problem really well with it, keeping a high degree of confidence in the implementation that we made, then that's probably not a good solution for us.
Yeah. I think we also answered this one, but who's using it in the daily? And what's the target demographic? Large law firms, medium law firms, small?
Yeah, so we work solely with law firms, primarily because law firms tend to be taking on this closing work on behalf of their clients. So we don't see a lot of corporates really engaging in the actual closing process, and they typically use outside counsel for that part of the deal. In terms of the specific law firms that we target, the way that we like to say it is we target really any law firm that does a lot of transactions, right? That has a pretty robust transactional practice. And what we tend to see is that gravitates towards larger law firms. So your AmLaw 100, AmLaw 200, NLJ 500 firms tend to have enough transactional deal volume to kind of require or need a tool like ours to really make that process more efficient. But we also work with a number of boutique firms that oftentimes come out of these larger law firms that do high volumes of deal work as well. And so that's really how we think about our market, are who are the firms that are doing a lot of deals, and how could those firms utilize a tool like SimplyAgree.
What makes SimplyAgree special? Like, why is it different from anything else on the product? Why should people be excited to see this demo and think about using SimplyAgree?
Yeah, I love talking about this because I think there's like two things that really differentiate us as a company and as a product. The first is that we are hyper focused on user adoption, from everything from how we build the application to how we onboard, how we train, how we just support customers through their closing processes. Will and I, when we were practicing, we were attorneys that really wanted to use technology, and we couldn't find the time to do it in our practice. So we're super sensitive to the fact that we're talking to other people who were sitting in the same seats that we were, not 8 or 9 years ago. And so how can we make a new tool palatable and exciting for the users sitting on the other side of the screen? And the way we do that is just building around this adoption-centric approach. So that includes, how can we deliver fast wins to the user and to the client? How can we let them see value in a really quick period of time? How can we keep the interface really simple and not overwhelming, right? How do we focus on just the pain points that are concerning to the user and not try to boil the ocean and do everything across transaction management? And as we kind of take those values and we point them at our software, what we find is users will jump on, they'll try it, they'll get a good experience quickly, And that buys us a second chance. And getting a second chance with attorneys is really hard. But once we get second chance and they have another good experience, and then they just keep coming back, and that's really exciting. The other thing that we focus on as a company is maybe what we can call like a commitment to our users, right? We have a saying that we use internally, which is your deal is our deal, your closing is our closing. I think it's really important for vendors to recognize the urgency and pressure that attorneys feel as they're working on closings like these. And we want to make sure that we're always empathetic to that, whether it's hand-holding them through a closing, helping build trust throughout the process, spending extra time with users, either on a support question or on onboarding, all those little pieces that we can do to build trust throughout that process, collecting feedback, building that back into the application are all things that really reflect that commitment to the end user. And if there's anything I'm probably most proud of this company is when our clients will tell other customers or other law firms how great it is working with us because we just listen to them. And I think that's really valuable and something we'll continue to do as a company.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, you kind of, it's almost like a stereotype of a legal tech company tagline is like built for lawyers by lawyers, but like you guys really are. And like, you really like are the best example of that you understand what's going on with attorneys, what their needs are, what they really want out of a product and delivering it. So I think that you maybe turn me around on that saying just with this.
It's a tough saying because, it's spot on.
Yeah.
You have to have that insight of having practiced and done it to make a tool relatable to the lawyer and the end user. But then you have to stick with it as the company grows and the product grows. It's really easy to drift away from that and forget about who the people are using your tool and what they care about. And we try to keep that front of mind.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see it. So if you want to share your screen, we can see a brief demo of SimplyAgree.
Absolutely. Let's take a look. We are a web-based application, so it's accessible in the browser. And here I have a number of different transactions on my dashboard. As we mentioned earlier, we support a variety of different types of deals. So M&A, venture capital, commercial real estate, commercial finance, capital markets, and they're all supported in our tool. So we're going to run through just a really quick M&A example to show you kind of some of our core workflows in the application. So I'm going to jump into a sample transaction here. And I talked a little bit earlier about kind of making the tool really simple and focusing on our user workflows. We'll see right across the top of the screen, our 3 action buttons really mirror the chronological process that an attorney goes through today. So creating their signature packets, managing their executed signatures as they come back in, and then building their closing binder. So when your attorneys hop into our tool, it feels really familiar because they go through this process today, just the analog version of it with Adobe and PDF Surgery. So we're going to walk through kind of how this works with our documents and our signatory. So I have a number of documents I've added to my transaction. 4 of these documents I need to get signed, and I've identified signers on a few of them. So I'll jump into my asset purchase agreement here. And I'm really quickly just going to identify my signature page and tell SimplyAgree it's a signature page, and we will automatically identify investor group and demo company as my signers on that page. And now I'll just proceed to my next document. And this document doesn't have a signature page, so I'm going to use one of our really cool features called Instapages and build my own signature page right in here. We call this kind of the Canva of signature pages. And in this example, I'm going to have, we'll have our company sign and we'll have our buyer sign. You can see we build out those signature pages in real time right here in the tool, and they're fully customizable. So this is really powerful technology to build a lot of signature pages at scale. We see this especially in emerging company and venture capital practices where you have to build 100 signature pages for a bunch of different signers on each document, and it takes hours and hours. We can do that instantaneously in our platform. So if I go back to my overview, I can now see my documents say 002, 02, 03, and 01. And now we can jump into our first action item and we can build our signature pages. So I'm going to build a signature packet for Jennifer Smith. By default in SimplyAgree, we're creating PDF packets. About half of the deals that we see in our platform are still being signed by hand. So you can think of the commercial real estate, finance transactions haven't fully made their way to the world of e-signatures yet. And so they're still using PDF packets. So we can create really nice PDF packets with divider slip pages. And by default, just send these directly to your email as the user, and you get them right in your inbox where you're already working, so you can share them with a colleague or forward them directly to your client. Alternatively, you can also collect e-signatures just by enabling e-sign. So it makes it really easy to do either workflow in the tool through the same process. And we can just drag and drop blocks onto the page. So in this example, I'm going to email this to Jennifer Smith, and I'm going to email it directly to her. I'm going to say, Jennifer, please review and sign ASAP. And we'll go ahead and fire that email off to Jennifer. So I'll jump over my email here. What we will see is I first have the signature packet I created from Jennifer. And this is just a nice PDF packet with all of the signature pages and cover pages in them. Makes it really easy to have that beautiful work product made just in seconds. You can adjust it and update it as many times as you need. And then I also have the e-sign request where Jennifer will come, branded from the law firm. And this is a really nice client experience where the client will be taken to a custom landing page with all of the messaging that you provided. And they'll just be taken through the workflow into DocuSign to actually apply their signature in the application. So clients don't need to log in. It's really seamless, and it works in just a few clicks to get all of your documents signed. So we'll go ahead and complete the signing process for Jennifer. And just like that, Jennifer is done signing. And if we jump back, she'll get a confirmation. If we jump back into SimplyAgree, we'll notice that we now have 4 signatures awaiting review from Jennifer. And we can jump in and we can check out the signatures and make sure that they are signed correctly.
Thanks.
What's really nice about this workflow is we understand all deals are different. And so oftentimes we have to account for situations where you have new signers or signers change, or you have new documents or documents change. It's all built dynamically so that if you update documents or signers, all those packets update automatically in the back end, and you don't have to keep
Nice. Yeah.
you don't have to keep pinging your client over and over and say, oh, one more document. It'll just update natively in the background. So what we can see is our documents are now compiled. I have Jennifer Smith's signature page in here as well. And I can also automatically upload handwritten signatures as well into the platform to do that full compilation process, whether I do e-signatures or handwritten signatures. The last thing I'll note on our kind of compilation step is we can really quickly combine exhibits and attachments into our agreement as well. So I'm just going to add my escrow agreement in here, Exhibit A. And just like that, Exhibit A has been added as 28 through 37. So what's really neat about this is a user using SimplyAgree for their closing should never need to open Adobe or any PDF tool in order to do any compilation for their closing documents. All of that can be done really quickly and seamlessly in the UI.
Yeah, I need to know those like reaction buttons that has like the crowd going, yay!
Yes.
Getting out of Adobe. Yeah.
You show this to an associate who's done this the manual way, 55 times throughout their career, and they see it, and that is the response that they give, is a yay, like, why didn't I have this? I would say if I had this as an associate, I might still be practicing. It's that much of a difference maker. But yeah, we really, this is again, just kind of being really focused on those pain points that our users actually have in practice, and building tools specifically around them can deliver so much value and such a great experience.
Yeah, I can see
So that signature packet process typically takes 10 minutes from uploading documents all the way to building those packets. So you can think about that as compared to a couple of hours. And then the final step in our workflow is just building a closing binder. So you can get this set up ahead of time. When you have your closing date, you select it. And this is all just drag and droppable. So you can organize this closing binder with headers, subheaders, whatever order you want to do it. Lots of customization around the index format and the layout. And that closing binder will build typically in about 30 to 60 seconds. And we've built closing binders as big as 20,000 pages. So deals can be humongous and we can handle them all, which is really exciting. And then that final work product will look something like this with a custom branded cover page, bookmarks built throughout the document that are automated, and a fully customized and hyperlinked table of contents. So all that comes together in the tool in just a few seconds. And our attorneys love delivering this to their client on the day of closing. And one of the questions they often get is they'll send out their closing binder right when the deal closes, and opposing counsel will call them and say, how'd you do that? How'd you get the closing binder out already? And they just tell them magic, but sometimes they'll share it's us. So
yeah. That was amazing. I mean, it's just so smooth and so sleek. And it's just, especially when you know like what the existing, you know, like how to do it without this. It's just a nightmare to contemplate, and it just makes everything. You can just tell it's really well thought out, and it's just like someone who knows the process of what everything that has to happen has designed this.
Yeah, and from going back to your tech question earlier, we actually built our first version of this tool in 2017 through 2019. And then based on everything we learned from our customers, we rebuilt the whole tool again in 2020. So this is actually our second take at making sure that we have a really elegant, intuitive UI that's really responsive to the user. You know, we don't want a user sitting and waiting for things to load. We do a lot of magic behind the scenes to make that happen. And yeah, just trying to deliver that nice experience end to end so people want to come back and do it for their next deal.
You don't want to say like, you know, managing transactions is fun, but you know, about as pleasant as you can make the process. Yeah.
It is a hard job for those of us that have done it and working with our users. Like, it's a really tough job. And if we could bring just like a moment of joy to part of that process where like it all just works. Like,
yeah.
that's everything.
It
That's
just
awesome.
works. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all the best you can. I mean, that's the greatest compliment, I think. It just works. You know,
It just works. And when that happens, then lawyers use it, and then knowledge management's happy because it's being adopted across the firm, and it's kind of, we get these big team wins in these experiences.
well, great. Was there anything else you wanted to show us before we sign off for today?
I think that's it, Sarah. I really appreciate the time and opportunity to speak with you.
No, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. So again, my name is Sarah Glassmeyer. I am the Director of Data Curation at Legal Tech Hub. I've been joined today by Sam Beitler from SimplyAgree, and this has been the LTH product briefing on SimplyAgree. Please join us for future ones. Thank you so much.